Good evening, folks. Chris in Central Pennsylvania. Earlier today, a lot of people started flooding my inbox and flooding my chat, talking about flights have been canceled for South African refugees who had flights scheduled from 23 February to the 9th of March. I've subsequently seen some of the screenshots that were sent to these folks via email. And I've also reached out to the U.S. government. Now, I made a video earlier today. Bear in mind that I've been working since about 6 a.m. without a break. And I still haven't taken a break. I just was working, answering emails while listening to the U.S. hockey team advance to the gold medal game, beating Slovakia 6-2. This is the first time I had time to decompress all darn day. So I've had time to think about what's going on. Now, earlier today, I did a short between an interview and a broadcast in the 5 minutes spare time I could squeeze out, in which I tried to explain that there are many reasons why this pause might be happening. One of which I said possibly is that we are about to launch a campaign against Iran. Now, I never claimed that South Africa is in the flight path of Iran. Never said any such thing. Some people are saying that on social media. I never said that, and I'm not implying that. I'm also not saying that's the reason. I said it's a plausible reason why there might be a pause in the program while the government's focus is elsewhere. But let's think about this for a second. I've had a little bit of time to consider it now, mull it over. Some of us have been telling the U.S. government for months now that RSC is totally cocked up. They're just messed up. They're incompetent in their execution. Now, that doesn't mean that people aren't working very hard and trying to do the best and fulfill their contract. But too many mess-ups are happening. Too many screw-ups are happening. For instance, it isn't RSC's fault that the U.S. government shut down in late September, October, into mid-November. That is not their fault. But why is it that many people, perhaps as many as 80 families, are still stuck in South Africa months after the fact, when people who entered the program after the November 4th intake questionnaire are already in America? Why is that? Riddle me that, Batman. That's a question we've been asking for a while. I've been trying to reassure people that they're getting to those folks, and they have been getting to some of them. I'd say probably, I'm guessing about half the people or more have already gone over, but I don't know factually, just know based anecdotally the number of cases I've heard from. So that's one consideration. And what about the people who did the PRM email, did the statement of interest, and then followed the instructions and did the intake questionnaire from February, May, and November? We're now talking a year. There are a number of people who fall into that boat, including people I know who were in the first 100 people who were interviewed, who were never denied, whose investigation was completed. Why are they sitting in South Africa? Their lives in jeopardy. Something is screwed up here. Think for a moment. Perhaps the pause is because Church World Service can't answer the question about why these screw-ups are happening. Also, we've seen a number of cases recently where folks have come to America and been placed on the West Coast linked to family members, not just friends, but family members, biological family members, and the family members are placed in Kansas or Kentucky, and they're in California. Somebody is screwing up royally. Now, I'm not trying to lay blame on Church World Service and its subsidiary RSC, but RSC certainly has screwed things up here, and we've talked about this repeatedly over the past several months, frustrating people to no end. Listen, as far as having empathy with South Africans about their weight, I don't have a lot of empathy. I'm sorry if that hurts your feelings. Because if I'm an objective observer, I have a lot more empathy for the people who got stuck last year, who had tickets and then weren't allowed to come over here from all over the world. They really got screwed, about 20, 25,000 people. So don't expect empathy from that standpoint. You've not been waiting long as far as a refugee program, even those who started in February last year. However, why are people coming that replied much later? It shows a breakdown in the sequence of events and poor oversight and poor leadership. I've talked about this repeatedly over the past several months. If I ran this program, it'd be run very differently. Somebody is screwing up somewhere. I've said that over and over again. So perhaps what's happening here, this pause from the 9th of February, from the 23rd of February to the 9th of March, perhaps this pause is so that Church World Service can get their subsidiaries sorted out and start fulfilling their mission, which we're paying them for. And while you're at a Church World Service, if I'm correct in this analysis, and even if I'm not correct in this analysis, how about you getting your house in order in Rochester, New York? You're still screwing over the refugees up there who didn't get their matching payments from New York because they were neglected by the case officer and didn't get other services they're entitled to. How about you fix that? And oh, by the way, I'll congratulate you on the work that you've done locally in Tampa, Florida, and in Dallas. But you're not getting off the hook for the cock-up you've got going on in Rochester and neglecting those refugees. what you've done up there, your lack of oversight, your case officers, their treatment of South Africans, Afghans, and others is abysmal and unacceptable. So back to this case. Perhaps, folks, the reason for the pause is all these screw-ups. Maybe the U.S. government is finally getting the message because enough people have been complaining, enough people have been sending messages, and I have been trying to warn them for months about how screwed up this is. Now, I don't know that that's the case, just like I don't know that us about to strike Iran is the case. But an analyst takes what little information is available, uses their knowledge, analyzes it, brings it together, and comes up with a potential answer. And this is a plausible answer. Let's see what the real answer is when this all shakes out. Also, for those of you who fall in this boat, it's unfortunate for you, and I have empathy, particularly if you've already gotten rid of your home and your car and you're like just a day or 2 or 3 days away from flying. That is messed up. All I can do is offer my empathy for you and tell you that we can help those folks, as long as they follow my directions in the previous short that I published. We can help you with food at least. And if we can find a combination, we'll try to find it. But finding a combination for hundreds of people is not a simple task. So my analysis after a little bit of time to reflect on it is that this may be a pause related to the poor execution of this contract by the vendor. And the government finally taking a look at the problem and holding them accountable. What say you? Do you think that's a reasonable explanation? I do. Doesn't mean I'm right. Doesn't mean I'm wrong. We'll have to wait and see what the truth is. Cheers.